Welcome into Bucs Insider, coming to you from the Bucs studio, presented by Ticketmaster. Casey Phillips here with Scott Smith and Bri Dix, and there's a flurry of things happening.
Yes.
Free agency week is always one of our favorite versions of this show, because even right up to the moment we were coming on here to record this, we were like, oh wait, we got to talk about this. Oh wait, a new thing has happened. There have been frantic notes being taken as even more players are signed and decisions are made, and by the time this even comes out, there may be even more. So we always love this time of year. It is a lot of fun, and of course, Jason Licht, Mike Greenberg, all of them just working their magic like they do every year. So first, before we get into a bunch of the different free agency signings, we wanted to set the stage for the salary cap, which isn't always the most exciting part of what we talk about, but boy, does it have a lot to do with everything else we're going to discuss. So what happened to the salary cap this year, and what did that enable the Bucs to do?
I'm pretty sure the players are excited when they see that number.
That's true.
Because that translates into bigger salaries for everyone, which is just an indication that the business is going well for the NFL, because the salary cap this year went up to $279.2 million. That was more than expected. It was originally thought it would fall somewhere between 265 and 275. So, a lot of teams, and the Bucs included, had kind of a tight cap situation, and this just frees up a little more room.
Yep, and even more people you can potentially sign there
It's
for.
pretty amazing, because the salary cap used to kind of go up in small increments. It's gone up $97 million over the last 4 years.
And if you put that into perspective on the potential either number of players that could be, or the amount of money you now can offer players to get your higher quality guys, I mean, that's such a massive difference in what your roster could potentially look like. $97 million is either one incredibly expensive player or a lot of other guys potentially as well. And so it's very exciting.
Can you believe that within the first couple of years of the salary cap, do you know what it was? It was like $40 million per team. I mean, that's not even a quarterback
Inflation
anymore.
now, I tell you.
Single players are making more than that.
But also, obviously, every new broadcast deal is more lucrative. And there's a specific percentage of that incoming revenue that's negotiated in the CBA to go to the players. And so there's a reason why these players are getting these big salaries. And sometimes you look at it and go, $30 million? 40? But, I mean, that's what the money is for.
That's the market value. Yep, that's so true. All right, let's get into a few of these signings, and we have seen in recent years the dedication to bringing back guys that were already on the team, and the way that that's worked, guys that we love, the fans love, everyone's excited about, and of course we got to start with Lavonte David. And I think that every year we hear that Lavonte is back, there is a collective cheer that can be heard across Tampa Bay.
Is there anything more I have to say about Lavonte David? I don't feel like I have to run down his stats. I can say that he's 14. This will be his 14th season, which will be tied for the second most of all players with Derek Brooks behind Ronnie Barber in team history. I mean, like I said, I could throw out any number of stats, but one of them, last year, he was one of only 2 players in the NFL to have at least 100 tackles and at least 5 sacks. It was his most sacks since 2016. So the point is, Lavonte's not slowing down. I mean, he's probably not as fast as he was in his prime, but that has been made up for by just his continued experience and just his knowledge and his ability to read what's happening and make a quicker decision.
That's true. All right, well, you know what? Let's watch those decisions in action and some of these highlights. Who doesn't want to watch a little bit of highlights of Lavonte David now that we know he is coming back? So check this out.
Lavonte David, it's his 13th year in the league, and Christie is playing so darn good right now. He is brought to the turf. O'Connell buried. He fumbles the ball after Lavonte David. Lavonte David. His entire Tampa Bay career, Lavonte David has been around the ball. Chase this time by Lavonte David. Gets away. Down chase now. Screen it to Robinson, and Lavonte David, top tackler.
That already just makes me wish that the season was here. Look at all of this. I mean, look at these highlights. Look at these tackles. Look at the big plays. He's everywhere. The man is flying all over the place, and we are just so excited that he's going to be back with us again to keep rocking it this next season. And, I mean, man, outside of Lavonte, of course, the other massive name, fan favorite that everyone was sweating over this offseason was Chris Godwin and what was going to happen with him. And now, thank goodness we know he is back as well.
Yes, so he agreed to terms on a 3-year deal. This is the second time he was re-signed after a significant injury. Obviously would have drawn a ton of interest in free agency, but I think like Lavonte David and Todd Bowles, Jason Licht have mentioned this several times, but he epitomizes what it means to be a Buccaneer, right? Like he has the unselfishness, his skill set, the unparalleled work ethic, and I think it's just a testament to what they know that he's going to do to have his body right and to be able to make an impact when he comes off of the grueling recovery process that this has been. But he's a guy that does it all for this team. You know, I mean, taking the hits over the middle of the field, he's physical at the catch point, does the end arounds, the jet sweeps, the choice routes. Like, so much of this offense is built on what he does and what Mike Evans does. So can't say enough about how exciting it is to have him back. And then obviously at the point of the injury that we've mentioned a lot, but just, I mean, he was on pace to have, I think, like 1,400 yards. Like, he was leading the NFL in yards after catch, receptions, receiving first downs, was Baker Mayfield's go-to on third down. So just, I mean, I think to put it into terms, my dad was literally in tears when he found out that Chris Godwin was going to be back. So, like all Bucs fans, just excited to have him back and just to see his wife, their baby Ace, was just a fun day for everybody.
I think it was clear in the press conference that Chris could have gotten more elsewhere.
Yeah.
They both Jason Licht and Chris himself basically confirmed that. And that says a couple things to me. One, even those people who haven't been here, even those teams that didn't get to witness his work ethic in person and his last return from injury were confident that he was going to be the same receiver and he was going to be fine after this injury. And two, as Chris himself said, it's just for him, it's not all about the highest possible dollar. And, you know, it's still a great contract.
Still a lot of money, yeah.
But he could have had more, but it was more important to him to strike the right balance between that, getting what he deserves, and also being where he wants to be.
And what that says about his thoughts of who this team could be.
Yeah,
you
right.
know, he wants to win. He's had that Super Bowl. He wants it back. And so what that says, he thinks about this team and this offense. And part of the reason may be that he feels that way, that not only with his re-signing, but now also the re-signing of Bredeson, that whole dang offense is coming back intact, which shows how highly they think of it. And of course, your new offensive coordinator isn't so new in the building, already part of that system. So, man, we've talked about the importance of consistency with him, and now you truly get complete consistency with the entire offense coming back. So Bredeson, that was the one that maybe he didn't get quite as much attention as a Lavonte or a Chris, just not having been here as long, but just a massive piece of this offense and what this offensive line was able to do.
Every other part of the Bucs starting offensive line, which according to Pro Football Network last year was the third best line in the league, every other piece of that is homegrown and was chosen in either the first or second round. You had the one new guy last year in Bredeson. He came from the Giants, whose offensive line as a whole was not well regarded the year before. But the Buccaneers saw something in him and brought him in. He won the left guard spot and really kind of helped that whole unit gel. And it was basically a prove-it contract for him. It was a one-year deal for, by NFL standards, not a whole lot, but he did like say Shaq Barrett did some years ago. He took that one-year prove-it deal and proved it, and now he's got a 3-year deal. And the Buccaneers have offensive line continuity for not just this year, but probably several years to come. So it wasn't, it maybe didn't draw as much attention as the Chris Godwin signing, but I think it's really important. The theme of this whole thing has been continuity, right?
Yeah,
and
that's very
it's
true.
kind of incredible. It's kind of like after the Super Bowl year when we were able to re-sign all those guys and virtually all of our stars were back. It's not going to be the same case on defense this year, but at least the offense, which was great last year, is just full steam ahead.
Absolutely. So, of course, we have talked about this continuity, re-signing a lot of the same guys, but there have been some new additions to the team, some new faces around here, and I'm sure even as we go on these next few days, there might be a few more, but the big one that's gotten a lot of attention is Haason Reddick. So, Bri, tell us about what this addition could mean to this defense.
Yeah, so it was reported that he signed a one-year prove-it deal with the Bucs. It's expected to be official today after the start of the new league year yesterday. And he's just a guy that's a pass rush specialist, has the numbers that this staff wants. From 2020 to 2023, he had 50.5 sacks, which was third in the NFL. He recorded 15 forced fumbles since 2020, which is his second most in the NFL, including a league-leading 14 strip sacks. And I think that's one of the biggest things that sticks out to me about Haason Reddick's game is he's not just looking to get to the quarterback. He wants to punch the ball out. He's effective at it. He has, the bend around the edge, the burst. And one of the things that I think makes him so lethal is his ability to kind of bait tackles. Like, he has the ability to work inside on stunts, on twists, which is one of the things that Todd Bowles likes to do, moving guys around. but he has that effectiveness to kind of bait tackles with using a two-way go. He can fake going outside, then work inside on a stunt. But also he started out his career as an inside linebacker. So we all know that Todd Bowles likes to drop guys in coverage. So on occasion, he has the capability of doing that and moving around to wreak havoc. So I'm excited to see what he would bring to the defense joining Yaya Diaby.
Yeah, I think that's going to be fun.
He started out as a first-round pick for the Cardinals. And, yeah, they played him as an off-ball linebacker for his first 3 seasons. And it was just kind of meh results, right? And for that reason, they didn't pick up his 5th-year option. And so when they finally decided to play him as an edge rusher primarily, he goes off and has a huge season. But now they don't have the 5th season, so he immediately hits free agency, goes to Carolina, kind of like, I'm going to prove this isn't a fluke. And then he does, and then Philadelphia signs him because now this is one of the league's best pass rusher, and he has 2 fantastic seasons for them. So 4 straight seasons of double-digit sacks. Last year was kind of a lost season because of the trade to the Jets and then a contract dispute, and he only played in like 10 games, never really got into it. But I think we're getting the guy from the last 4 years.
And especially, you know, for it to potentially just kind of be one of those kind of prove it deals. He seems like when he's been put in those situations before, he's proved it.
It's a 1-year deal.
So I love that. Okay, and so now I know those were some of the big names that hit, but there are a few other things that have happened recently as well in terms of both losing some of the guys who were on the team and re-signing a few others. So kind of hit us the quick hits of some of these other guys that have these roster moves.
Like you said earlier, we were literally writing notes here because things are kind of happening fast and furious here, and some of these are just reports so far, not necessarily official. But we did see Robert Hainsey go to Jacksonville, reunite with Liam Cohen. You know, we all are very appreciative of Robert Hainsey, but the Bucs do have their 5 stars left, and he only had 94 offensive snaps last year. He played great in the one game he had to start because Graham Barton was out. Certainly going to be an asset to the Jaguars, but it's not a tremendous loss, right? In terms of what happened last year. Joe Tryanchenko went to the Browns. We're hearing Greg Gaines is going to resign. Anthony Nelson is going to resign. The Buccaneers apparently have a deal in place for punter Riley Dixon from most recently the Broncos, and he had a 42-yard net last year, which is what we were like at less than 38 last year. So it needs to be a lot better. And, you know, obviously cycled through 3 punters. If you're worried about the fact that he was punting in Denver, his home road splits were exactly even in terms of
wasn't just an altitude
thing. In terms of net, 42.0 in both home and road. So I think it's kind of like, you know, some years back, remember we just had that ongoing cycle of kickers, and just sometimes several a season. Couldn't get it really secured until Ryan Suckup, and then, you know, now obviously
Chase McLaughlin.
Chase McLaughlin. So the same thing with the punters. 3 punters last year, none of them really lit up the world. And now I think they feel like they got that set. And apparently Kyle Trask is going to come back.
Yep, which
now,
is great.
Again, a lot of these things haven't officially happened yet, but that's because they haven't necessarily gotten here to sign. But these are all the reports we have so far.
Yeah, so again, lots happening. I'm sure there's going to be even more going on in the future, so stay tuned to all of that on our website, our social media, and everything to keep you up to date on all the latest moves. And of course, as we talk about all of this, I mean, of course, props to Jason Licht and his entire staff and everything they've been able to do for years now. And we've seen people talking about, you know, on social media, like, first of all, I think everyone in this building and everyone in Tampa has known the value that he and his staff have brought and the job that they have done. But it does feel like now we're starting to see a little bit more of the national attention coming, where people in the media and outside in the NFL are tweeting about, man, look at what Jason Licht and this staff have been able to do, giving him a lot of props for being maybe one of the most underrated general managers in the NFL and everything that he's accomplished. And I think one of the things that really stood out to me, especially with the Ben Bredeson signing, see, there you go, Dan Orlovsky saying not a more underrated executive in football than Jason Licht. And the offensive line to me is a huge component of that, of what he built to the point of the Super Bowl. Then you end up losing Ryan Jensen to injury sooner than you would have thought. Ali Marpet retires sooner than anyone would have expected, where I'm sure they had thought, we have our line for years to come. And then that just didn't work out that way. To so quickly be back now where you have a line that you are wanting everyone back, one of the top in the league, producing the run game they were last year, to do that on such a quick turnaround after something that was so unexpected a few years back, I think speaks really highly to what they've been able to do. And the fact that there are so many people on the team they're wanting to re-sign shows how well they're drafting, shows how well they're building already from within, which is what you want to do. He really emphasizes that winning free agency isn't always what makes for wins in the fall, but the draft is really where you can build a team for years to come. And we've seen that that is where they have just done an incredible job. So it's been really fun to watch. Wanted to point that out for sure. And now it is time for our favorite part of the show, Stump Scott. And
your favorite part.
It is. It's our favorite part, especially when we stump you. We don't love it when you get it right. But we're coming off a semi-stump the last time you got part of it right.
Yeah.
So we're coming off a semi-stump. So do you feel like you're going to be able to fully redeem yourself?
I'm confident.
Of course, you're confident. Well, we were submitted this question by a fan. Bri, tell us what our Stump Scott question is.
How old was Simeon Rice when he had his last double-digit sack season?
I like this question. There's a couple elements to it. One, it's do you know the year that he had it? And then, of course, then you'd also have to factor in how old was he in that year and doing some math on when he was drafted,
Mathematics
when he came out
is
of
not
here.
my
The bad news for you guys is that I've spent a lot of time recently working on a Simeon Rice project.
Of course.
So I've been looking at a lot of the numbers in the career and all that. So it is a matter of trying to piece it together, like you said. Mm-hmm. I know his last double-digit sack season was 2005. That's 100% true.
Yep.
And I know he was drafted in 1996. So the point is, how old was he when he was drafted? Because then I would just have to add 9 years to it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like he was a young prospect. You know how some guys come out and they're like 20?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But some are 23? I'm going to guess that he was 20 when he was drafted.
So 29.
So 29. 29 is my guess. I know he had 122 career sacks. I know that he led the league with 101.5 sacks from 1998 through 2005. I
feel like when you're unsure of the answer, you just put a bunch of other facts around it. That's what I think is happening here. Yeah, okay, we get it. You know like all horseshoes. The things. Yeah. But that wasn't the question. Yeah, the close only
Bring
counts
it back, Scott.
in horseshoes.
Horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yes.
So it won't count, huh?
No.
Well, that's my answer.
That's your answer, 29.
I think I got a shot
You
here.
were right on literally everything else.
Well, like I said.
You got the 2005
Wait,
part
isn't
right.
that right?
He was 31.
Oh, man.
So
he was 22 when he was drafted.
He was 22 when he was drafted, and so you were right. It was 2005.
I think you knew lots of.
We will give you again the half stump. That was that you got the year of the last season right, which is very impressive. But just didn't know how old he was when he was drafted.
I was only in my 5th year in the league or with the team in '96, so that was a long time ago.
You're bringing upon the question of how old
he
was.
Don't do that math, please. Please don't do that math.
That's our favorite part of
Well, you don't know what year, how old I was when I was drafted, so.
When you were drafted, that's true. That's true. We don't know that. All right, we'll close with this, our sort of off the field human interest side. I was able to go on the Bucs cruise this last week, and it was a blast. And we watched, so many people. Just wanted to rub that in a little bit, you know.
Humble brag.
Yeah. Humble brag. We were on the Bucs cruise, and it was a blast. We wanted to show this highlight package. It was incredible. We had cheer and fear. We had pool volleyball, which was obviously very well attended. You should see the whole cruise. We had.
I guess Will won.
Will was on the winning team, and Jamel was the captain of the winning team. He is a 3-time-in-a-row champion, having gone on all 3 cruises. We played Family Feud. We did this panel with Luke wearing his amazing Creamsicle Giant hat. It was truly amazing. The fans were awesome, and there's several fans that have gone on all 3.
Really?
And they talk about how it becomes like it's this cool little reunion for them every year. And now some of them tailgate together now that they've met on the cruise, and the guys loved it, especially some of the guys that was their first time going on it, and they loved it. So it was absolutely a blast. The pool volleyball, the panel, the Family Feud. I mean, it was great. And I learned also I didn't know all the rules of Family Feud quite as well as I should have to be the host. And there were some very avid fans among our fans who were quick to correct me. So if we redo the Family Feud next year, I need to watch a few more full episodes to pull off the complete Steve Harvey.
You didn't go full Steve Harvey, huh?
I mean, I did in the suit jacket I chose.
Did you?
I wore the bright orange suit jacket to try to, I just didn't quite know the rules fully. And just made executive decisions on the stage that were apparently incorrect. So I will work on that before next year. All right, that's going to do it for us on this edition of Bucs Insider. And again, pay attention to all the free agency moves as they happen on all of our social media and website and YouTube as well. So we'll see you next time.